McDonald's is planning to close its CosMc's units. Industry executives are expressing concern over the labor situation, and Florida is cracking down on the black market for restaurant reservations. Welcome to Restaurant Daily, your quick daily download of the top stories in the restaurant industry from the editors of Restaurant Business and Nation's Restaurant News. I'm NRN Managing Editor Leanne Zinsmeister.
And I'm RB Managing Editor Heather Lally. What was your favorite CosMc's moment? McDonald's on Friday said that it plans to close its standalone CosMc's location starting in late June as it moves the test of its beverage concept into, quote, hundreds of its regular restaurants. The move comes just 18 months after McDonald's opened the first unit of its drive-through beverage concept to long lines in suburban Illinois. It ultimately opened 7 more in Texas, but it closed 3 of the locations in January. And then earlier this month, CEO Chris Kempczinski said it would start testing beverages in its McDonald's locations.
The labor situation in the restaurant industry is improving, but for how long? At the National Restaurant Show last week, several industry executives expressed concern about the potential that immigration limits could have on the labor picture in the future. And Fitch Ratings cited immigration as one reason for downgrading the industry's outlook to deteriorating. But Michelle Korsmo, CEO of the National Restaurant Association, provided at least a glimmer of hope for the prospect of immigration reform, at least after Congress approves the budget.
Florida is cracking down on the black market for restaurant reservations. Governor Ron DeSantis last week signed an anti-piracy bill that makes it illegal to sell restaurant reservations without the explicit authorization of the restaurant. The bill was modeled after similar legislation adopted in New York last year after news reports exposed the practice, which restaurant operators have called a predatory leech industry. Anti-piracy bills are also pending in several other states, including California, Illinois, Louisiana, Hawaii, and Nevada.
President Trump's massive One Big Beautiful Bill is advancing to the Senate. With it are provisions to eliminate federal taxes on both tips and overtime. Some details are still unclear, but the National Restaurant Association contends that the move will impact an estimated 13 million hourly workers across the industry. The bill is expected to benefit business owners with some key tax deductions, as well as allowing the full expensing of capital investments. It would also reinstate depreciation and amortization in calculating business interest expenses. The legislation, however, faces potential changes in the Senate.
Hard work has paid off for Jimmy Seidel. The founder of Snarf's Sandwiches moved from Chicago to Boulder, Colorado 30 years ago to start a sandwich shop, though he hadn't worked in a restaurant before and only had a modest life savings. The site he picked for the first location was tiny and had a history of failed restaurants, but some guerrilla marketing and a strong lineup of about a dozen toasted sandwiches helped it break even on the first day. Years of hard work and a misstep or two, and the chain took off. Today, it is one of the fastest growing restaurant brands in the country, and last year made its debut on the Technomic Top 500. That's despite a weak year for fast food sandwich chains.
Tony Townley, a co-founder of the Zaxby's chain, has joined investors in backing the 3-unit Maple fast casual concept's growth in Georgia. Maple was launched in 2018 by fine dining chef Peter Dale, who remains invested in the brand. Maple has 2 units in Athens and 1 in Atlanta.
And that will do it for today's episode of Restaurant Daily. I'm Heather Lally.
And I'm Leanne Zinsmeister. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Restaurant Daily. Rate us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and subscribe.